and welcome to ThreatTraq Essentials. We're going to go over some everyday cybersecurity lessons that we can learn from this week's ThreatTraq stories. I'm here with Mike Klepper. Welcome, Mike. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Great to have you here. Let's talk about this week's stories. Stan brought us something that was really kind of interesting. It was about pseudorandom number generators. Now, first of all, tell us, why are pseudo-random numbers important in cybersecurity?
Well, ideally, we would have truly random numbers, but since those are very, very difficult to obtain, we have the next best thing, which is pseudo-random numbers. And these random numbers really underlie many of the security algorithms, such as cryptography and other things that we use as part of security on a daily basis.
So, what was the story that Stan brought to us, that there may be a weakness with pseudo-random numbers?
Well, pseudo-random numbers have a number of limitations, but the story in particular was referencing a very widely used pseudo-random number generation algorithm that has been discovered to be predictable and therefore lack sufficient randomness under certain situations to keep things secure.
So what does this mean for people who either work in security or even to the average user? What lessons can they learn from the story?
Well, ultimately, when things like this happen, it's important to just stay on top of your software updates. Now, because this is an algorithmic issue that's relatively recent in its discovery, ultimately what you're going to see is over the next several weeks and months that there will be updates, there will be changes made, and so it's important to get those updates to your applications and other software applied in a timely manner, because this is the type of thing that those updates keep you current with.
So you may not know that that's what the update is addressing, but nonetheless, it's important to always keep your software up to date.
Correct.
So let's talk about your story, which was about a Windows vulnerability that was patched and now needs to be patched again. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so in this case, what we saw was, an attempt by Microsoft to fix an issue in, the Windows platform. And while initially that patch seemed to function as intended, ultimately it was discovered that it didn't quite solve the problem in its entirety, and as a result created a secondary and highly similar problem that could be exploited much the same way to the same effect.
So there's no patch available yet for this vulnerability, but it's anticipated very soon. In the meantime, what can people do?
It's really important when you have situations like this where a vulnerability, particularly one that has a history of exploitation and has proof of concept code, has been disclosed, that it's very, very important for you to closely monitor your systems for signs of compromise, lateral movement, and other indicators that you might have a threat actor inside of your environment.
And lastly, Jim brought us a story about how there's malware out there now that's seeking to geolocate its potential victims. Why is that important? Why would attackers want to know where you are, both geographically and perhaps even within a network or not within a network?
Geolocation, like any kind of, customer experience modification, is important for attackers, many of which operate as a business. So geolocation can allow them to forego certain kinds of targets, ones that might be politically aligned with them or ideologically aligned with them. It also allows them to tailor whatever their secondary tasks are, or even the payloads that they deploy.
So is there a way that users can limit how much of their location information they're sharing?
That's a tough one. Certainly there are ways in which you can do that, sending traffic through proxy systems and things along those lines, but the average user probably isn't going to go to that extent.
So what can they do to protect themselves?
Really just continue to practice good basic cyber hygiene. Make sure you're not clicking on things that seem unlikely or foreign or suspicious. Watch out for clickbait. Keep your endpoint security software up to date. And in the event that, we're talking about a corporate asset, if you do make a mistake and click on something, reach out to your security department and escalate that as quickly as you can so that they can look into it and see if anything did actually transpire that they need to take action on.
Well, thank you for being here, Mike, and thank you all for watching. If you want to keep up with great advice like this every week, like and subscribe below. And if you want to look deeper into any of these stories, click on the playlist below. We'll see you next time.